Yo guys, it's Austen Summers, and I'm currently here on Mars helping Elon Musk terraform the planet to make it more hospitable for human life. And, you know, since I've shifted planets recently, I think this is a perfect environment to talk about shifting. Have you ever wanted to be unpredictable, mysterious, and take girls on indie romance style adventures that make sex an afterthought and that makes meeting up again as easy as sending another text? What about making her engaged and excited in the interaction as opposed to bored and lethargic? What about giving girls that perfect middle ground between uncertainty and certainty that gives them that excited, engaged feeling in the interaction? If you don't do this one thing, you'll be boring in your interactions, boring in your relationships, and boring in your fucking life. And if you do implement this one thing, you'll have girls in different cities saying things like, "Oh my God, I went on a date with another guy, he was so boring. When are you coming back? I miss you." Well, do you guys want to know what that is and how to do it? Well, let's get into it. It's called shifting. So shifting is what the best guys I know do on autopilot. Whereas beginners typically focus on things like, what do I say? What do I do? Let me try this thing I saw in a YouTube video. More advanced guys who really crush it, they focus on the emotion and the energy in the interaction, and they make decisions based on that. So shifting also makes you unpredictable. But why is unpredictability attractive? Basically what it does is when you're boring, you do or say things that a girl expects, and because she expects it, she has an autopilot response to deal with it. When you do or say things that she doesn't expect, she has no autopilot response to deal with it. So it brings her into the moment, and she experiences you and the interaction more deeply and vibrantly. Game is a mixture of letting things happen and making them happen. So too much letting things happen makes the interaction kind of boring and passive, and then too much making things happen comes off as overstimulating, try hard, and aggressive. So what we're aiming for is the middle ground. Okay? So that's where the girls see you leading, but also allowing the interaction to unfold. In other words, shifting. Let's think of shifting in terms of a movie. A boring movie would be like a historical documentary about 14th century China read by a monotonous speaker. And then an overstimulating movie would be like a compilation of YouTube pranks put back to back that gets old very quickly. A good movie ties together all these elements and shifts them over time. So think of 127 hours. Starts out, the guy has an adventurous life. He goes cycling in the backcountry, and he ends up in a canyon. And then, just as he's like enjoying it, a flash flood comes in. There's some terror. There's some drama. And then he gets stuck. And then there's suspense. What's going to happen? Is he going to get his arm out? And then there's kind of sadness when he realizes he's probably going to die. Then there's that glimmer of hope where he's cutting his arm off. And then he goes and he gets out, and then it kind of ties together the movie nicely when he escapes and he finds freedom, basically. So a good movie is like a good interaction. You want to have all those different elements. Maybe not as much terror, but some romance, some drama, some fun, some getting to know you soft parts, and then tying everything up nicely and tying her up. The 5 things you want to shift are the environment, the emotion, the conversation, the dynamic, and the intensity. Shift the environment. Locations have a time dilation effect, which means that the more environments that you and her go through, the longer you felt like you've known each other. So this will hit home for you the easiest with this example. So think about a time in your life where you were in a massive routine with school and work. You basically did the same thing day in, day out. Every week was kind of the same. Maybe days or weeks go by without you even really noticing it. Now think of a time in your life, maybe you're traveling, exploring different parts of your city, going to new venues, meeting new people, going to new places, and that one day that you have that experience could feel like 3 days. So what's going on there? It's called time dilation. So what that means is time, your concept of time warps and it kind of expands so that time feels like it's a lot longer. So you can use this same effect when you're with girls. So what happens if you're with a girl and you go to multiple different places with her, it feels like she's known you longer than she actually has. And that forms a more deep connection and bond that you can have with her, more emotional rapport, if you will. This is also why sunset is one of the best times of day to have a date, because you're with a girl during the daylight, during sunset, and after sunset when it gets dark. So she's gone through 3 phases of the environment changing around you, and that creates a strong emotional connection as well. So for example, I met this French girl in Venice Beach, California. We walked together to Santa Monica, went on a Ferris wheel. In Santa Monica, we also went to a 3rd Street Promenade, which is a shopping district, got frozen yogurt there, then got into my friend's car, and then got Chipotle, and then we moved all the way to my place, and then from there we went into my room, and massage, and done. And even after that, we got to explore LA a little bit more during the week she was there, and it was like I had an instant girlfriend. So when everything is changing around you and you two are the only constants, it creates this strong emotional rapport. So shift locations, shift the dynamic. So your physiology changes how you experience things. So sitting, standing, walking, laying down, all change your emotional experience of something happening. And you can practice this right now. Let's say you're watching this at home, sitting down. Get up, put your shoulders back, chest out, and do this. Hold this pose for about 30 seconds, and then tell me if you feel better. Scientifically, you will feel better. And a general kind of way that you can move a girl into these different dynamics is, let's say you're at a bar, you meet the girl standing, maybe you give her a little twirl, maybe you dance some salsa, then you lead her to the bar, and at the bar you could be sitting down, maybe you take her to a couch, you're both sitting down, maybe you put her legs on you, the dynamic changes even more. It's a more calm, laid back, and then you stand her up yet again, you're walking, you pull outside, you get in a car, you go to your place, you're shifting through those dynamics, and that changes the interaction as well, shifts it. If you're getting too bored by sitting down, stand up, walk somewhere else. Shift the emotion. So this Latina girl I was seeing in LA once told me, she was like, "Austen, you are everything. You make me happy, sad, angry, jealous, turned on, excited. I've never felt like this before." This girl has a bedazzled iPhone. Who are you?
Your wife.
I want a divorce.
No.
Yes. The only people dancing in the whole place. I don't believe this is real life. No, it's not real. Oh my God, what is life?
Yeah. So how many girls do you have during the week?
During the week?
So 3 if you have one?
Take your shoes off. It's very dangerous. Do you want to hear music?
Also.
El musical.
Yeah.
La musical. What do you think I do for a living?
You're a porn star.
Why do you think that?
Because you're a jerk.
And so that was right around the time that I found out about this idea of shifting emotions, of changing emotions, giving a girl a range of emotions, this rich palette, let's say, to work with. Which emotions? Universal human emotions. Anger, fear, sadness, disgust, contempt, surprise, happiness, shyness, pride, intent, and challenging. That gives her an intense emotional experience. In general, you want to think about it like this. You shift from positive emotions to negative emotions. In general, you want it to be about 80% positive, 20% negative. And the negative doesn't necessarily have to be something that you're putting her down, making her feel bad, but it can be things where you're teasing her and showing her that you don't need to be Mr. Nice Guy. In the old school, they called this push-pull. Most guys were way too nice. They were the quote-unquote nice guys, and they just kept pulling with all these compliments, and they didn't once challenge the girl, push her away, tease her at all, which didn't give her that range of emotions. So in general, just be, a positive guy, and then every so often throw in some teases in there. So in Toronto, there's two main schools. One is University of Toronto, where the smart people go, and one is Ryerson University, where the hotter girls go. So one girl, I guessed that she was from Ryerson. I was like, "You're from Ryerson, aren't you?" And she's like, "How'd you know?" I said, "Well, the hot girls go to Ryerson and the smart girls go to U of T." And I said it with a smirk, so she knows I was being playful, but she kind of reacted like, "What do you mean? I'm super smart. I've been like in all these great classes," and and she starts qualifying, so she's chasing my validation because of one little push. You're also gonna shift between playful and neutral. So for example, if a girl asks me where I'm from, the first time I give an answer, it could be funny. It could be like, "Oh, I'm just a stripper, but it's only part-time to pay my way through doctor school." And she'll go,
Haha, that's hilarious.
and then she's gonna say,
No, actually though, like what do you actually do?
and then I could give her a straight response. If I just keep saying a troll response over and over and over again, she's not gonna trust me, and it may come off as that I can't be real. So balance between the neutral and playfulness. Also, people don't necessarily feel emotion, they feel change in emotion. So for example, if you're neutral and then you make a joke about her being disgusting, and then it gives her this negative spike, then it comes back up to neutral, and then maybe you tell her the stripper thing and she laughs. That's more of an emotional range than joke, 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 joke. It's all at the same point, which gets predictable, boring, and you're not shifting around, so it's not gonna be the best experience for her. So basically you wanna be aware of when emotions are used and the emotional tenor of the conversation in that moment, so that you know when to change it and what to change it to. You also need to keep in mind that in general, a conversation just has to be a man to woman dynamic, has to be a normal conversation with you and a girl, and you need to lead it forward towards sex. These spikes are kind of like the sprinkles on top of a cake, right? If you just ate a bowl of sprinkles, you wouldn't like it. But tossed in every so often, they're quite good and they make the interaction more interesting. So shift emotions. And I want to leave you guys with an exercise to do for these emotions. So I do this on boot camp. Basically, I get students to cycle through different emotions when they talk about the same thing. So pick an animal, not your favorite animal, just a random animal. For example, there's birds flying around here. And talk about the animal with all these different emotions. So love, oh my God, this bird is so amazing. It just fills me with so much joy. And then maybe hatred, this fucking bird, dude, it came by, it gave me the finger, dude, fuck that bird. So you cycle through those different emotions and try to put yourself fully into that emotion and bring it to its extreme, because you can always, after you go 100%, bring it back. But going 100%, pushing your bounds and how you can express these emotions will allow you to express them when you're with a girl. So practice that and also cycle through these when you're in set. It's very fun. It gives you that range of emotions and you can use that to practice. So cycle and shift these emotions. Shift the conversation. So when you shift the conversation, you want to shift topics, you want to shift the balance of who talks, you or her, and you also want to shift between emotional and logical language. Too much emotional language, you come off like as this goofball who can't be serious, can't be relatable, can't be himself, can't be real. And if you're too logical, you come off as boring, analytical. It doesn't kind of give her an emotional experience. So you want to shift through all three of those. I recently had this Skype student who sent me a 20-minute interaction of him meeting a girl in a mall, and he talked for a bit with her, and then they hit on Star Wars, and he stayed on the topic of Star Wars for 20 minutes straight. The girl got bored, and then he didn't grab her number. So what's the number one thing he could have done besides get her number? It would be shift topics, okay? So whenever you feel like the topic has kind of reached its length, let it go. You don't have to hold on to the one topic that you think the girl likes because it's a safe thing to do. It's ultimately not a safe thing to do because she won't be able to experience a range of topics with you. The next thing is you want to shift the balance of who talks, you and her. In the beginning, there's an old school rule, 90-10. I agree with that. In the beginning, you want to be doing most of the talking, and then that'll shift toward more 70-30 and 50-50. And with that 50-50, you can be quiet and allow pauses at times. You know, relax, seduction slow. And you can just change topics. Like, you don't need to wait for like a special moment to shift from Star Wars to asking where her favorite animal is, you know, just shift the topic. And the last thing you want to shift is the emotions and the logic. In general, you just want to be normal with a man-to-woman vibe and have a normal conversation. And then within that, you sprinkle in the emotion. So don't make the mistake of thinking that a YouTube compilation video is like the be-all end-all when it comes to game. That is just a highlight reel basically, and a lot of an interaction just has like these chill points. So if you're being too boring, inject some humor in the conversation. And if you find yourself injecting too much humor, then slow it down, be relatable. So shift the conversation. Shift the intensity from high intensity to low intensity. So what are some of the high intensity things? Piercing strong eye contact, dominant assertive vocal tonality, getting in close, being physical, and also bringing up topics that relate to you and her in a relationship in the future or perhaps sex. Low intensity would be something like breaking eye contact, having a neutral vocal tonality, giving her space, backing up, not touching her, and using a statement of empathy such as, you know, hey, let me know if I'm too touchy. You know, I'm from Miami. The Cuban culture rubbed off on me. And then switching the topic to a neutral conversation topic such as, yo, what do you do for fun? You can even do this during sex. So switching between varieties of dominant hard fucking and then sensual, tender lovemaking. Switching between high intensity and low intensity in all areas of the interaction gives her an enjoyable, balanced experience. And finally, if she looks tense, go lower intensity and become more relatable. If she looks too bored, then be more expressive, go higher intensity, and be engaging. So, to recap, you want to shift the environment by moving her around. You want to shift the emotion by bringing her through a range of emotions, basically being aware of where you're at emotionally and where the interaction's at and changing it to another one. And then you want to shift the conversation by going through different topics, balancing between you and her, and also balancing between emotional and logical language. You want to shift the dynamic by changing your body position, sitting, standing, dancing, lying down, kneeling, and intensity by oscillating between high intensity and low intensity. So basically, to shift, be aware of when you're doing too much of one thing and then shift to its opposite to give her the best experience possible. And if you give her the best experience, she's going to give you the best experience. So drop a like on this video if you liked it and leave a comment down below with the top thing that you learned from this video. So see you in the next video, guys. Peace.